more about the victims in that deadly plane crash that killed 2 Kamaka Air pilots. Officials have yet to release the identities, but we're told that one was a Punahou graduate, the other a graduate of Kamehameha schools. Casey Lund is near the scene and has the very latest this morning. Casey?
Yeah, Grace, good morning. We are just on the other side of that building that we showed you earlier this morning, but we were asked to move by sheriff's deputies because we were kind of precariously in the Delta Air Cargo area, so we wanted to get out of those as those folks came to work. But I do want to show you, before we go to video, this is the building. On the other side of this building, the other side of this loading dock, is that that scene that we've shown already this morning where the plane entered the roof of that building and took out a big chunk of the cinder block there. But I also just want to zoom out, if we can, and show you how close this is to those huge, massive containers with jet fuel. This could have really played out a lot differently, and we're grateful that nobody else was hurt, but of course a tragic morning for those families. The flight tower recording, the pilot told air traffic control operators they were out of control before that aircraft veered to the left. We want to show you some of the video from the investigation earlier this morning. This is video that we took about an hour ago as those NTSB officers, those NTSB investigators, I should say, got on scene, started taking pictures. Now, a lot of that debris, some of it anyway, had been collected, taken to a secure location. You imagine that they're going to be piecing through that, trying to figure out exactly what happened here. We also want to talk a little bit about what we know from the record, right? Authorities say the men had just taken off from runway 4L when they reported trouble to the tower. The air traffic controller had told them to land that cargo plane wherever they were able to, but that aircraft had suddenly turned around and plunged into the vacant building on the edge of that industrial area that we're standing at right now. This is a photo of the actual plane that was involved in yesterday's crash, a Cessna 208 that was built just 13 years ago. We also want to talk a little bit about the flight path, what we know about that training that they were doing yesterday. First heading to Lanai, then circling the airport before briefly landing, then heading back to Honolulu, where the plane landed and took off for the last time. This is video that came into our newsroom shortly after the crash. It was captured by a driver who was traveling near the Honolulu airport. This dash cam video, you can see the aircraft highlighted there in the top left corner of your screen. The driver said it appeared the plane made an erratic U-turn before going out of veer. We spoke to transportation officials on scene right after that crash who say this outcome could have been much different.
From what we understand from people who saw the crash, they avoided quite a bit of structures, including our fuel farm, to minimize the impacts that they were had.
And it's a tragic loss. Our condolences go out to the Kamaka Air Ohana. So RFED, their water on fire first. HFD arrived second, assisted with fire control. We did interior search to clear the building. Fortunately, the building is an abandoned building, so this is a best case scenario. No one else was involved, and our hearts go out to the families and again, the Kamaka Air Ohana.
We are making ourselves available to the Hawaiian Department of Transportation, National Transportation Safety Board, and the Federal Aviation Administration for investigation into this accident.
And that last person you heard from there, the head of Kamaka Air, who came out and made a very brief statement asking for privacy for the family and, again, for the Kamaka Air Ohana. We know that the NTSB, as we mentioned and showed you, is on scene, but these investigations can take some time. We also were able to talk to witnesses on the scene yesterday afternoon. Take a listen.
I was sitting at my desk, and all of a sudden I saw a small plane fly past my office window, which is on the 7th floor, and I went, oh, he's really, really low, and he started banking and turning back towards the airport, and then I heard a loud bang.
Kamaka Air mostly flies those smaller air cargo planes. They did recently start offering some charters, but that was not a majority of their business. They were actually grounded earlier in this year voluntarily. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the history of Kamaka Air here in Hawaii, the service that they provided to some of those smaller communities like Molokai and Lanai. Very proud to be offering them support during hard times like COVID, the Maui wildfires, flying supplies there. We'll share some of that coming up. We also want to mention the governor, Josh Green, and Mayor Rick Blangiardi for the city and county of Honolulu released statements sending their condolences to the family and Kamaka Air dealing with this really difficult tragedy today, waking up to the reality that those two young men, those two young pilots, are gone this morning. We'll continue to share information as we get it into the newsroom. We also want to mention the NTSB is asking for any witness accounts, any video that may have been taken. You can send that to witness@ntsb.gov. Grace will send things back into the studio for now.
Yeah, sad time for a lot of families out there. Thank you, Casey.